Let me ask you something. Have you ever made what felt like a perfect decision and it just blew up in your face? Or maybe the opposite. You made a terrible choice and somehow it all worked out? Well, today we're going to dive into a fascinating mental trap that gets all of us. And it's all about the huge difference between a good decision and a good outcome. Let's start with a little bet. Okay, picture this. Someone walks up to you and offers you a chance to win $1,000. All you have to do is roll a 6 on a regular six-sided die. Simple enough, right? But here's the catch. It's going to cost you $500 just to play. So, what do you say? You in? All right, let's actually look at the numbers here. You've got a 1 in 6 chance of winning that $1,000, but that means you have a 5 in 6 chance of being out $500. Statistically, the odds are they're really not in your favor. It's a pretty terrible bet. But what if your friend, standing right next to you, decides to take that awful bet? And boom, she rolls a 6. Just like that, she's $500 richer, and she's celebrating. So here's the question. Does that lucky outcome all of a sudden make her decision a good one? This whole scenario, a bad bet with a lucky win, is the perfect way to get started because it really shines a light on a huge flaw in the way we usually think about success and failure. The truth is, your friend just got lucky. That's it. She made a bad choice and happened to beat the odds. I mean, think about it. If we scaled this up and had 600 people all take the same bet, the math gets really clear. Yeah, about 100 people would win, but a whopping 500 would lose their money. The decision was bad for everyone. The outcome was only good for a few lucky people. Okay, so now let's take that same idea and apply it to something like the business world. Imagine 600 managers all make super risky, gut-feeling investments. 500 of them fail, maybe spectacularly, but 100 of them get lucky. And the media, they find the luckiest one of the bunch and put them on the cover of a magazine calling them a genius. But are they really a genius, or are they just your friend who happened to roll a 6? You see, this way of thinking, it's not just a random mistake we make. It's actually a well-documented mental trap that our brains just love to fall into. It's called the outcome bias. So what is outcome bias? Well, it's our powerful, almost automatic tendency to judge a decision based on how it turned out, instead of looking at the quality of the thinking that went into it at the time. We see a good result, and our brain just instantly assumes it must have come from a good decision. Here's a great way to think about it. Running across a busy street to catch a bus is a bad decision, right? We can all agree on that. Even if you get lucky and make it to the other side without getting hit, the process itself was still incredibly risky. The good outcome doesn't magically change that fact. But why? Why are our brains wired up like this? Let's take a look at some of the science behind this bias and the pretty surprising consequences it has in the real world. The research on this is just wild. Study after study shows we consistently rate people as more competent just because they got a lucky outcome, even if their process was exactly the same as someone who failed. It happens in business, where CEOs get paid more because of market shifts they have zero control over. It even happens in sports, where players get higher ratings after a win, even if they were sitting on the bench. We are just hardwired to reward the result, not the process. And this leads to something called the asymmetry problem. See, we love a dramatic story. The risk-taking surgeon who pulls off a 1 in a million operation, yeah, they get a movie made about them. But have you ever seen a headline that says, "Careful pilot lands plane safely for the 5,000th time"? Of course not. Quiet competence gets ignored, while loud luck gets all the attention. And this doesn't just apply to how we judge other people. This is about how we judge ourselves. When one of our risky moves actually pays off, we feel like a genius, right? It actually reinforces the bad process. And when a really well-thought-out plan fails just because of some bad luck, we feel like an idiot and start questioning everything. It's a trap that keeps us from actually learning from our own experiences. So, if judging by the outcome is the trap, how in the world do we get out of it? Well, the solution is to completely shift our focus, away from the payoff and onto the process. Think about it. When we judge by the outcome, all we're really doing is rewarding luck and punishing misfortune. It lets us hide our bad habits and pretty much guarantees we're going to repeat our mistakes. But when we shift to judging the process, we start rewarding solid reasoning, we encourage real improvement, and we build skills that actually last. Okay, so this all sounds good in theory, but how do we actually do it? How can we get better at spotting a flawed decision-making process, not just in other people, but more importantly, in ourselves? Here are 3 big red flags you can look out for. First, be really wary of anyone who says they're just trusting their gut without any real analysis to back it up. Second, be skeptical when people point to one single success story as proof of their skill. That could easily just be luck. And third, watch out for people who try to oversimplify really complex problems. The best decisions almost always recognize that things are complicated. In the end, it all comes down to a simple truth. Even a broken clock is right twice a day, but that doesn't mean it's a good way to tell time. A lucky win doesn't fix a broken process. So the next time you're looking back on a decision, yours or someone else's, ask yourself this: are you being impressed by the lucky roll of the dice, or are you looking at the person who was smart enough not to take that terrible bet in the first place?